Welcome to today's deep dive analysis. We're stepping straight into the middle of the most consequential courtroom clash in tech history. This isn't just about money, folks. It is literally about the future of artificial intelligence itself and the fierce legal battle lines being drawn right now to control it. Let's dive right in.
Let's kick things off with a number that'll make your jaw drop. $30 billion. I mean, that is just a staggering sum of money. But what's truly mind-blowing here isn't just the sheer size of that fortune, it's how much it actually costs to acquire.
Listen to this exchange. Question. And to get those interests, the cash you put in was $0, correct? The answer. That is also accurate. Wow. That's OpenAI President Greg Brockman sitting under oath, casually admitting to securing a multi-billion-dollar fortune without investing a single cent of his own cash. So how on earth did we get here?
Section 1, Silicon Valley Trial, inside the May 2026 Oakland Federal Court.
Setting the scene, we've got Elon Musk, the world's richest man, on one side. On the other, Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, the architects of OpenAI. Now, here's the wild irony at the very heart of all this. Elon Musk, who was an original funder and pumped over $38 million in cash into OpenAI, currently holds absolutely $0 in personal equity. Meanwhile, Greg Brockman and Sam Altman, the guys steering the newly transitioned for-profit entity, are holding personal equity valued in the tens of billions. Now, we aren't taking sides here, but you can definitely see why a disparity like that sparked an all-out billion-dollar legal war.
Moving along to Section 2, Zero-Cost $30 billion, recreating the cross-examination.
Put yourself directly in the shoes of the jury for a second. Musk's lawyer steps up and starts this relentless surgical cross-examination of Greg Brockman. He fires the first shot. You have an ownership interest in this for-profit company, correct? Brockman just replies, yes, accurate.
The pacing accelerates. The stakes get higher. Your equity in this for-profit entity at today's valuation is over $20 billion, right? Brockman answers simply, yes.
And then, the absolute knockout blow. In fact, it might be closer to $30 billion, correct? Brockman pauses and concedes. I think that might be true.
Yes.
Can you even imagine the murmur in that courtroom? $30 billion in equity, obtained for literally zero cost. It's unbelievable.
Okay, so what is Musk actually alleging here? Under California charitable trust law, nonprofit assets are heavily protected. Musk's core claim is unjust enrichment. Basically, the original vision for OpenAI was this nonprofit public good for humanity. Musk is arguing that the executives dismantle this public entity, essentially stripped it for parts, all to pocket a massive $30 billion private asset. He's also bringing up broken promises, like a $100,000 early donation pledge from Brockman that was allegedly never even paid. It's a forceful argument, claiming public charitable assets were just transformed into private wealth.
Which brings us to Section 3, Red Line Transactions, unpacking the Cerebras deal. That zero-cost equity? Yeah, that was only the first bombshell. To understand this next part, we need to define a massive legal term, self-dealing. Under California law, this happens when nonprofit fiduciaries use charitable funds to prop up their own personal investments. It is an absolute red line because it means their personal wealth grows exponentially at the direct expense of the charity they're supposed to be guarding.
And the timeline here is what makes this so intensely controversial. Back in 2017, Brockman and Altman made personal investments in an AI chip startup called Cerebras. Fast forward to December 2025. OpenAI, under their leadership, signs a massive $10 billion order and a $1 billion loan with Cerebras. Just 2 months later, in February 2026, Cerebras' valuation completely explodes, tripling from $8 billion to $23 billion. By April, OpenAI actually doubles the order to $20 billion. And today, Cerebras is filing for an IPO at a $26.6 billion valuation. So the personal investments of OpenAI's leaders skyrocketed in direct tandem with the massive corporate orders they themselves authorized.
Which leads to, frankly, the most shocking moment of this whole transaction. During the trial, Musk's lawyers point-blank asked Brockman, is there an email informing Musk you held Cerebras shares while pushing the deal? Brockman's response, I don't believe such an email exists. No emails, no texts, no chat logs, a multi-billion-dollar conflict of interest, and seemingly not a single paper trail disclosing it to the board. Just incredible. Let's flip the script. Section 4, Out of Control Arms Race, OpenAI's Defense, and Expert Warnings. Now, every complex trial has two compelling sides, right? OpenAI's defense is entirely pragmatic. They frame the shift to a for-profit as a necessary evil. Look, achieving artificial general intelligence, or AGI, requires an astronomical amount of computing power and thousands of ridiculously expensive chips. They argue that a nonprofit reliant on charity simply could not survive against deep-pocketed rivals like Google DeepMind. To them, this wasn't greed, it was basic survival. Plus, OpenAI's lawyers claim Musk is just acting out of jealousy. They pointed to an ominous text message from Musk right before the trial, threatening they were about to become the most hated men in America. The judge actually kept those texts out of the trial, keeping the focus strictly on the corporate transition itself.
But the stakes here go way beyond corporate drama. Listen to AI pioneer Professor Stuart Russell from UC Berkeley, who warned the jury there is a natural tension between pursuing AGI and safety. It's an out-of-control arms race. He's basically saying that this winner-takes-all rush for profits heavily incentivizes developers to just ignore crucial AI safety protocols. That is terrifying.
Yet, I gotta point out the elephant in the room here. There's a brilliant, almost comical irony to all this. Musk is suing OpenAI for abandoning their nonprofit ideals to hoard compute and chase AGI profits. But look at Musk's own company, xAI. What are they doing? Exactly the same thing. They're a massive for-profit entity, buying up graphics cards, expanding compute, and chasing profits. So are we watching two idealists fighting for the soul of humanity, or just two tech titans fighting for ultimate market dominance?
Section 5. Collision of Values, the Philosophical Clash.
This explainer really boils down to a massive philosophical tug-of-war between two opposing worldviews. On one hand, you have this Old Testament idealism championed by Elon Musk. A promise is a promise, and a contract, especially a charitable one, cannot be rewritten just for convenience. On the other hand, you have practical expansionism, represented by Sam Altman and OpenAI. Their view? Technology moves way too fast, and survival justifies restructuring wealth to achieve AGI. But it's absolutely crucial to remember that California law traditionally and strictly protects that first view. Charitable assets are fiercely guarded.
Which makes this little piece of historical evidence so absolutely fascinating. Years ago, in an early email discussing a hypothetical pivot to a for-profit model, Greg Brockman himself called such a move a moral bankruptcy. It really makes you wonder if the guy currently sitting on $30 billion of zero-cost equity remembers his own past words.
So what's the big so what here? What happens if Musk actually wins this case? The domino effect would be unbelievable. First, OpenAI could be legally forced to open source its highly guarded tech. Second, their exclusive partnership with Microsoft could be voided entirely, which would instantly collapse OpenAI's valuation. Third, Brockman's $30 billion of zero-cost equity could be wiped out and returned to the nonprofit. And finally, this verdict is going to set a colossal legal precedent for every single future AI startup out there.
Which leaves us with one final, profound question to chew on as we wrap up today's explainer. If changing the world requires breaking your promises, are those promises still worth anything? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive analysis. It's been a fascinating look at the price of progress, and I hope this helps you grasp the true magnitude of this historic trial. Until next time, keep questioning the world around you,